So the MassChallenge early stage program is a 4-month-long accelerator program designed for just that, early stage companies. We are a general industry agnostic program. We take no equity, and if you apply in and are accepted into the program, then there is no charge to you to participate. So we typically define early stage as less than 1 million in equity financing or funding rather, and 2 million in revenue. So many of those startups that we see year over year come to us with significantly less than that. We are, again, a industry agnostic accelerator. So we're one of the few accelerators that will actually accept nonprofits into our program. This year, for instance, across the US, we had 26 different industries represented, and those companies came from 20 different countries, with about 20% of them being from outside of the United States. Once a startup is accepted into the program, we have a pretty good sense of where they are in their evolution. And this sense comes from judging feedback that we've received, as well as a self-assessment that we have each of those finalists participate in. So that's done through a survey. And essentially what we do is we take a framework, we call it the 4Ds, with the D standing for discovery, development, deployment, and distribution. So again, that is the trajectory of which the startups evolve. So we look at how many startups fall into each of those categories, and then we take the startups and we ask them to map themselves to something we call the MassChallenge roadmap. And the roadmap is essentially a bingo card where we've taken those 4Ds and then across, and then we have a column where we've identified the different the different milestones that each startup should accomplish in order to progress to their next phase or milestone. And so the goal in all of this is actually blackout bingo. But what that does is it allows the startups to understand where they are in their evolution and what they need to be working on actively. And then we map them to their mentors, and they also identify mentors in our directory as well on their own. So we have the resources that we bring to bear once the goal setting is created is amazing mentorship. And we year over year hear that truly is the pinnacle of the program. We have a number of in-kind resources, and then we have curriculum. So the curriculum, the traditional curriculum for very basic knowledge, such as developing a valuation or a cap table or business model 101 type of curriculum, is all recorded so that it can be accessed in real time as needed. And then we host seminars where we bring in previously successful entrepreneurs who share their stories. We bring in investors, and that allows the startups to be inspired, but also to engage in live Q&A with folks that ultimately have trodden in their paths and or are great advisors to what it looks like to ultimately secure funding, and if funding is even the right pathway. Again, we are looking for the highest impact, high potential companies. So in February, the applications go live. And then from there, we have about an 8-week application drive where we really encourage founders to come create their profiles and then, of course, create their startup applications. And then in March timeframe, we have a number of hundreds, if not thousands, of subject matter experts who do an online review of all of the different applications that come through. So in our world, we call that round 1 judging. And again, that is done online, and it's a review of every single application that comes through. Each application is actually reviewed by 5 judges. So that feedback is fairly invaluable to startups, whether they get into the program ultimately or not. Once we've down selected the top percentage of startups from that initial round 1 judging, we go into something called round 2 judging. And round two judging is where we do the last 2 years virtually, live pitches via Zoom. So each startup gets assigned to a panel based on their industry and sub-industry when possible. And then similarly, they will have judges that are in those industries. So again, they come in and they spend 10 minutes typically pitching and then 10 minutes answering Q&A. That round determines who goes on to be accepted into the program.